Minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. Minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The views or opinions expressed during the Lavish T. Williams podcast, during the interviews or commentators, are those of the individual speaking and do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Lavish T. Williams or the sponsors of the podcast.
Hey, what's going on? What's happening, everybody? Good afternoon. I want to start off by thanking you guys who's watching, who's chiming in, checking out the Lavish T. Williams Biker podcast. I appreciate y'all for doing so. Today we got a decent show. We got a great show, and I'm not gonna say decent. We got a great show, man. We got somebody from the Carolinas on here, man, and we're gonna talk about some things and share some stuff and learn more about this person. I have been in contact with him for at least, I want to say, over a year, and believe it or not, it's a lot of things that I put on the back burner because I didn't even want to talk about with him until I was able to get him on the podcast. So our conversation's been pretty direct to the point of the purpose of us having to communicate. So today I'm going to be able to actually go ahead and dive deep into who this individual is as I bring up on the air. I'm not going to be all long-winded and do the intro like that or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them in now. I want to introduce my guest. Actually, let me pause. I'm going to have him introduce himself. I'm going to bring him in. I want y'all to make some noise. Welcome him to the show. Here he go right here, man. Yeah.
What's up, everybody, including Lottie Dottie? It's your boy Retro, man. You know, we ain't up to nothing too much, man. Glad to be here with my man Lavish on tonight. Talk about whatever he want to talk about. As he said, I'm here in the Carolinas, Statesville to be exact, by way of Massachusetts, and we've been down here in the Carolinas for a while now. So I drink sweet tea and say y'all. So I pretty much consider the Carolinas home. You know what I mean?
All right, man. All right,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
So listen, let me go ahead and split the screen, man. It's first off, I want to say, as I stated when I first started, man, me and you, we've been in communication for over a year.
Yeah.
Today is the first time that we're actually able to actually live streaming. We've been talking about doing this, getting on the podcast and talking and kicking it and everything like that. So I'm finally glad that I made time, not on you, but I made time to actually start being more consistent with the live stream and everything. So first of all, let me run down a list of a few things that I know about you. Because again, like I told you in the people, I didn't want to ask too many questions because I like to be authentic. You know, I want to learn. I don't want to ask stuff and be staged asking questions that I already know.
Right.
So
Right.
this is right. This is what I know about Retro. I know that he's a biker. I know that he rides. I know that one of the best things that he could have done and that he does is he's ride a Harley Davidson Road Glide. You know, but then I want to go inside more because I know that outside of him riding a motorcycle, and that's our common passion, our bond is the motorcycle riding, but he's also into motorcycle ministries. So I want to, I want to get off and talk about that, but then I also want to talk about the riding that he does. I want to talk about Lottie Dottie because for a while I was sitting there wondering and asking, like, man, who is that? I don't. Is that another guest? So it's a lot of different things that I want to jump into, man. But we want to go back to the beginning, man. As far as the motorcycle first, I want to jump off and talk about the motorcycles. What what
Okay.
uh what made you start riding, man? And how long have you been riding?
I bought my first motorcycle when I was 15 years old. I was still going to Commerce High School. Little EX 500, I believe it was, pearl white with a little red stripe outside header on it. And so that was my first motorcycle. Of course, before that, growing up in the hood, you always had the guys on the little mini bikes. And
Yeah.
when I was living on Clifton Ave, one of my neighbors had a moped, and it was so cool because he would jump on it and he would pedal it, and then all of a sudden it would just start up and he would take off, you know. And so when I was able to get my first dirt bike, you couldn't tell me nothing. And I don't know if my man Keith is watching or not, man. Keith Cottrell, that's where I got my first dirt bike from, was from him. I was at Duggan Junior High School, and man, I used to beat the wheels off of that dirt bike. And so that's where I got my skills together on how to ride. And like I said, a few years later, once I got to high school, I bought that motorcycle from Marcel Smith, one of my classmates. Man, it was a nice bike, man. Couldn't tell me nothing. And so that's where it started for me. Of course, back then I wasn't getting no Yonda, nothing like that. It was just just around the city and stuff like that. And so that's where it started at for me, man. I didn't start getting Yonda until I moved down to the Carolinas. Of course, a whole complete different style of riding, and I was able to be exposed to some other riders as well that was getting Yonda and doing more riding than I was. And so it's like a bug. Once you get bit with that bug, man, you just
Oh
you just want
yeah.
more and more and more and more.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
no,
that's how
no
it started
doubt.
for me, man.
Now, me personally saying I got almost pretty much the same story as you. I've
Hmm.
been riding, starting off on mini bikes, mopeds. Then I got onto the crotch rocket. And
Yep, yep,
during the
yep.
crotch rocket, phase, no, we wasn't doing those those long highway riding things. We wasn't
Nah.
doing that. We were definitely trailering, and it was pretty sweet to have the pickup truck with the tailgate down and the two bikes strapped down on the motorcycle.
Hmm.
That's what we were doing. You know, during that particular time. Now, because I want to talk about all the great riding that you do, man. When I first got wind of you, I mean, I think you were going somewhere down Florida. You was going somewhere towards Florida. And I mean, you done did a lot of riding in the time to really kind of remember what was. But you were
Hmm.
doing that, and I was like, man, this guy, man, this guy be riding this motorcycle all over, and you be riding by yourself. That's what I, because I don't. I mean, and when I say by yourself, I see you and your wife. I
Uh-huh.
don't necessarily see you in a group of people. So it's like free riding. This is just something that you enjoy doing for, whatever your reason is. You
Yeah.
enjoy the relaxation or the views or the settings. But you're not riding a couple states over, a couple cities over, man. You're like going from state to state doing four corners in different states.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A few years ago, we started the Mission 448, and so you mentioned when you see me, you don't see me with a group. I do. For those who do not know, I'm president of Kingdom Alignment Motorcycle Ministry, based out of Statesville, North Carolina, and not everyone in my group, not everyone on my team. Um, have the time to ride the way that I ride, and so we started the Mission 448 as an accomplishment ride, to give them something to do and feel a level of accomplishment. So we set out to do the four corners of North Carolina initially. The whole team minus one took the trip. We knocked it out. It was October. It was late October, a few years back, and we had a great ride, man. We left the Charlotte area. We went to Myrtle Beach. We left Myrtle Beach, went to Kitty Hawk, left Kitty Hawk, went to Sparta, and then from Sparta to Murphy. We did it in 2 days, and it was a great accomplishment for the whole team, everybody that was involved. And while we were on that trip, God just was speaking to me, and so at each stop, I would share with the team what God was sharing with me, and we would have a word of prayer, and then we moved on. And so when we got back, God said, keep going. So we set out to do a few more. We knocked out Georgia, Florida, Ohio. We knocked out quite a few. And so we just said, you know what? We're going to go for the four corners of all of the lower 48 states. And so that's when Mission 448 was birthed. And so we've been out there. We've opened it up to the public. We've had several people get on board and knock out the four corners of their state. So we're excited for it, and we're also appreciative of those who have been supporting the movement.
Oh man, yeah, that's that sounds expensive, man.
So you already know, getting across state lines, it takes money. That's why I'd be like, I'm out here trying to get this gas money.
Yeah, and I always speak on that whenever I do talk about riding. I always speak on that it
Yeah.
costs money. Because a lot of people don't understand that. And when I say a lot of people, I'm speaking for the stereotype of bikers. You know, so many times when people hear the word bikers, or they understand, or see the dress or the background, the stereotype of bikers is bad guys, broke guys, grimy guys, but they don't understand that this motorcycle thing is an expensive hobby, just like anything else, with wonderful people from all walks of life. Now, you're in the
Hmm.
motorcycle ministry, and this is something that I really want to touch on, and I really want to get into. What is a motorcycle ministry?
Motorcycle ministry is exactly what it sounds like. We're doing ministry on a motorcycle, and at a gas stop, you're not gonna leave that gas stop without conversating with somebody. You just stated that the stereotype is that bikers are, mean, this, that, the other. And so for me, what happens, my cuts over there. Normally, I got my different patches, and they are part of my personality. One side is a part of my personality. The other side is a part of places that I've gone, or whatever, patches that represents places that I've gone. So usually somebody will see one of my patches and be like, "Oh, okay, you're a Christian," or whatever, something like that. And yeah, and so we'll go in and we'll start talking. And there's been countless times, man, where we've prayed for people at gas stops. We've ministered to people. So the motorcycle is a perfect ministry tool. And so that's what it's all about for us, man. We get out there, we ride. For me, I get as far as I can from time to time. But when we're together as a group, we're always conscious. And I tell the team all the time, ministry don't always look like ministry. So we've got to be aware of ministry opportunities when they present themselves.
Okay, that's cool, man. Um, do
Hmm.
you
Now, I will
preach?
say this.
Okay.
I do. I do. I do. So we've been pastoring Upper Praise Ministries for 17 years now here in Mooresville, North Carolina, where I'm at now. We just finished Bible study before we went live. So we've been doing this for, as I said, the past 17 years. Kingdom Alignment Motorcycle Ministry is an extension of Upper Praise Ministries. The funny thing is, about maybe 2 years after we started the church, God told me not to have any more pastoral anniversaries. And the reason behind that, or the backdrop behind that, was there were so many people who were, in my opinion, it appeared that they were having these services, and the pastor was being praised, and it was just, things was just getting out of order, it seemed, and I never was one to get down with that. And so God said, what I want you to do is I want you to have an annual service. And the name he gave me for the service was Kingdom Alignment. So we had Kingdom Alignment 2010, Kingdom Alignment 2011, 2012, on and on and on. And so that's how it started. But when we got ready to start the motorcycle ministry, we have been in prayer about it and everything. And so now I got confirmation from God that we were okay to move forward. We were still in his will to do so. And so now I need a name, because I'm real big on names. Anything that I've started, from business, church, whatever, the name was very important. And I always sought God for the name. And so I never forget, I was here in the church in the overflow room, me and my wife, and I'm saying, man, I got to come up with a name. And I'm like, man. and I'm sitting there at the table, and I look up like this, and I said, "Babe, that's it right there." Because we had one of the first banners that we had done for that service still on the wall to this day, And I said, "That's it." Kingdom Alignment Motorcycle Ministry. And so that's where the name came from. He had already given it to me before he had even put us on the path to do motorcycle ministry as we know it today.
Oh, okay. Now
Yeah.
I want to talk and I want to ask because I'm learning about you, and
Hmm.
I'm hearing the ministry. I'm hearing the motorcycle ministry, and I know that you like to ride the motorcycles. But going back before that, your upbringing, were you uh born in the church? Did you have a church upbringing, or did life experience convert you over to seeking God, seeking Savior in the church? You know, who is retro before this, if that this
Hmm.
wasn't your upbringing? Did you have a certain past that molded you to change, to shift that way, or has this always been your life?
No, I like to say I've always been retro, just a good old fashioned dude, kind hearted from day one. But nah, I didn't grow up in church. I grew up around church. And it's funny because we were talking about this last night. When my mother got saved. I must have been around maybe, I don't know, maybe 7, 8 years old, something like that, possibly. And so, I laugh about it. I tell people I had a drug problem at a very young age. My mother drugged me to church, But when I got, I don't know, maybe 11 or 12 years old, I started rebelling against, going to church. My father wasn't in the church, so that gave me an opportunity to escape going to service with my mother. So I started staying home. My parents had already split up by that time, but my father was still present, if you will. So a lot of times he would come by the house, and so we would stay home, me and my little brother. And so one thing kind of led to another. And before you know it, I got caught up in the neighborhood with the rest of the fellas. And so I took a different path. I took a different path. Um, I tell people I jumped off the porch early and I got back on early. You know what I'm saying? When I got back into the church, I was 19 years old. No, I was 18 years old when I got back into the church. And but when I got back into the church, or when I got to church, I meant business. I tell people, all the time, I dropped out of high school because of recess. I don't play games. So when I gave my life to the Lord, I'm in business with it. You know what I'm saying? And it's important for me to remain focused so that I don't allow anything or anyone to get me out of character or out of place. Because if you get out of place, then anything can happen. Anything can happen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, I definitely get it. I definitely understand. The reason I like to really ask and go into those kind of things is because we all have different backgrounds. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and our lifestyles changed us. It made us become the person that we are today. Me personally, I grew up in a household with my grandparents, my mother, and we were a church family.
Mm-hmm.
I around that age, probably same story, around that age. See, the thing about it with me is I got a handicapped mother. So my mother didn't fit in and she didn't look like the rest of everybody else's. So you know what comes along with that. You get
Yeah.
laughed at, you get teased
Yeah.
and everything. And then, every Sunday, I admired my grandfather and he used to, dress up, go to church faithfully every Sunday. And I used to, want to dress up and be like my grandfather, and then my grandmother, she'll go to church. So before church in the summertime, you'll be outside waiting on your parents to take you to church. And then you get to an age and all the kids will laugh at you.
Mm-hmm.
And you like, man, they making fun of me. You know how that, it could bother your self-esteem. And I ventured away from the whole wanting to go to church to wanting to beat up people. because I'm taking this anger, I'm taking this stuff out, and
Hmm.
it just followed because the the bad boy was the
Well,
cool
see,
guy.
for me, it was a slightly different. So when I hit the streets, I hit the ground running. Typically anything that I'm a part of, I excel in. And so when I got in them streets, I hit the ground running, right?
Mhm.
And but I knew what church was about, and I respected it. I knew God was nothing to play with, and so there were kids, even from the church that I grew up in, that were in class with me, and in the same school, and they were on the nerdy side, but I protected them. I wouldn't let nobody mess with them. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
I knew their lifestyle, I knew what they were about. So I was usually an advocate for them, man, and I didn't let nobody mess with the folks that I knew who were, the little nerdy church kids, if you will, man, because number one, it ain't right, and number two, one thing I cannot stand is a bully.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, man.
Yeah.
Um, I won't say the church kids. I would say that I used to protect the nerd, and it's funny. In high school, I was
Hmm.
around. I surrounded myself with the nerdy kids
Hmm.
because I was the bad kid, but I wasn't the dumb kid.
Come
I
on now,
skipped. I
that part.
skipped class. I didn't want to go to school, but I always was around the nerdy kids because they were valuable to me because
Hmm.
they kept me knowing what the assignments were. But then when I come to class with the nerdy kids, all of the cool kids wouldn't bother the nerdy kids because that's the bad guy over there. We
Yeah.
he's cool with the nerdy kids, so we're not even gonna mess with the nerdy kids. But deep down inside, I was a nerd myself. You
Hmm.
just didn't you just didn't see it. I just was out there with the bad kids doing all the bad, doing all the bad guy stuff and everything like that. And it was cool. But church became kind of one of those things, man, where um I shied away from it because it wasn't the cool thing to do anymore.
Hmm.
So I thought. And
Hmm.
kind of, just ran reckless in the streets for years. Because I wanted the things that I seen and I thought that the cool life was that, man. So you get um you everything that you see is not really what it is, man. And I learned that through life. And I always speak
Yeah.
on that stuff because a lot of times people could see a guy like myself and they see me now, they see me today and not realize all of the stuff that I went through, all of the stuff that
Right.
I've been through. Um, and I tell people like, listen, I have not always been the person that you're seeing. And it's unbelievable to a lot of different people. So I always want to speak on that because I'm hoping that it could reach some young youth that's straddling the fence, not really knowing which direction they want to go, to let them know that it's okay to be yourself. A lot of times we grew up with the big homies that we admired and we looked up to, and we looked up to them because they were telling us all the bad things to do versus some of the cool good things to do, and that it's okay, hey, to be good, to be cool, to listen to your parents. Instead, it was, man, skip school. You ain't got to do this. You ain't
Yeah.
got to do that. So we made a lot of bad decisions based off of trying to impress the big homie. So now that I'm the big homie to some, I try to let them know it's okay not to fit in, to be different. You know.
When I was coming up, Lavish, I was always the youngest one in the room, right? And I've been blessed to have, um how do I want to say this? I've been blessed to have sit among some of the greatest OGs, that I think a little G could have. You know what I mean? And none of them were necessary, world renowned or anything like that. But these OGs, man, they poured so much into me. They taught me so much. I learned so much. Growing up in the projects, man. I was in on Central Street, right, in Springfield, Mass. We called it the Alley, but you go over a block or two, and you got in the depth of the project. Oswego Street and all them areas over there. And as a little kid, man, we would be over there and we would just be taking in the sights and just. I've always been a student, man, so I can sit from a distance and just take it in and just learn. You know what I mean? And so it was it was something serious to see, man. But I learned so much from so many different people, man, you know, growing up in life. And now that I'm no longer the youngest one in the room, you know, it almost feels a little different. I remember when I began to notice that dynamic change, you know, where I'm no longer, you know, the little G, but now I'm the old head, you know, and now I'm trying to show these younger folk, you know, a thing or two. Because for me, when I got into the church, it was an interesting situation. But let me back up a little bit. I'm out in them streets, and I'm out there, you know, doing what most folk do out there in them streets. I took a trip to Jamaica one year, back in, it was 93 to be exact. So I took a trip to Jamaica, and I saw so much while I was there, man. It just opened my eyes to certain things that I realized I was taking for granted. The risks I was taking and the things that I was doing. I was risking my life, my freedom, and everything, you know. And that trip over there in '93, it just opened my eyes to some things, you know. And I came back home, and I said I got to do something different. And so I figured I was going to open up a business. And I ended up opening up this store. I named it Hotspot Variety, 1279 Worcester Street in Indian Orchard, Massachusetts. At the time, I was 17 years old. I was still have my last year of high school, and so I opened up this little business, and man, I'm loving it, man. I'm the man. You know what I'm saying? I'm making moves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I grew up in a household that preached Jesus, right? And I never forget, my mother comes down there. I'm gonna try to make it short. My mother came down there one night as I was closing up the store, and she's giving me this lecture, you know, about God, and she told me I should pay my tithes and everything. And I'm like, yeah, in one ear and out the other. I got equipment I gotta get. I got more supplies I gotta get, and you know, so I just brushed that whole idea off. Another day I'm down there, same thing. I'm closing up and I'm counting out my register, and I'm like, man, this ain't nothing but God. I said that out loud. I said, this ain't nothing but God. And it is impossible. Hear me real good. It is impossible to authentically acknowledge God and things remain the same. And so what happened was God says, okay, you see me, right? You notice me, right? He said, all right, all right. So of course I didn't choose him, and so things began to take a different turn. I went from doing so good at the store to struggling, right? And so God began closing some doors. I had a conversation one time. I was over at a friend's house. We was getting ready to go out and hit the streets, and his girl was doing this lady's hair, and so she had her head down. She was getting a weave in, and anybody that know me, they know this part of my testimony. And so she spins her around, and it was Miss Martin. I said, "Oh man, she's a church lady." We all knew she was a church lady. And here I am, I'm rolling up a big old fatty and everything, and she saw it, of course. And and so she starts lecturing us. You know, there's a few of us there and stuff. And we got in this long conversation about church and about God and this, that, and the other. And I was being hard headed. You know, I'm trying to have an answer for everything she had to say. And finally, she said, "You know what?" She said, "If you really want God to come into your life, just ask him and he will." I ain't never heard it that simple before, you know. She said, "Get you a Bible and read it every day." And so I did, man. I went home that night and I prayed because I was at a place in my life where I knew there had to be something more to life than what I was experiencing. Because see, the thing about God is there is a void inside each of us that is set aside for Him, and we can try money, drugs, sex, women, the streets, motorcycles, you name it. You can try all those things, and none of them will fill that void because it is a place that is set aside for God and God alone. And so when we begin to hunger for that unknown, we try to fulfill it with more miles. I got a saying, I'm collecting miles and smiles. I'm not out here just getting miles to get miles. I'm getting miles with a purpose. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so anyway, I went home and I prayed that prayer. I prayed to God, and things began to change, man. You know, shortly after that, I ended up selling out the store to a dude up the street. He had a car lot up the street, Spanish kid. And so now I had to go to plan B, right? As a young kid coming up, them OGs always taught me you got to have a plan B, a plan C,
Oh
and even a
yeah.
plan D. You know what I mean? And so plan B was a barbershop. I started cutting hair when I was like 12 years old, cut all the little kids in the neighborhood and stuff like that. And I got pretty good at it. You know what I mean? So my plan B was always if the store didn't work, I'd do a barbershop. So I sold the store, joined this little school downtown Springfield called LeBaron's Academy. And so while I was going to school for that, is when I ended up getting saved. And I, as the old folk would say, I've been running for my life ever since.
Oh man, that's wonderful, man.
Yeah.
So, and I want to ask you this, man, because I want to mix the motorcycles with the
Hmm.
ministry. I want to put them
Okay.
together, and I know
Okay.
I might, you know, I might unconsciously do this when I
Hmm.
see certain bikers that's into the ministry. I don't know that I'm doing it, but I move a little. I move a little different, you know. And I don't know if you experience being around bikers if they move a little different around you. It might just be because we know that you're into the church, so we might try to be a little bit more mindful of things that we do around, you know, the
Hmm.
people that's into the church ministry. So one, I want to ask you, does that make you feel a certain type of way, or do you feel um like I know that they're treating me different? No, and not in a disrespectful way, but people tend to um be more mindful when they know of certain people that's around. They try to, watch what they say or how they say it. um
Hmm.
do you experience that, and how do you take from that?
It all depends. To answer your question, yes, I do get it, but I get it from both spectrums. You get the one who says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that," and they'll hold off on the cussing and stuff like that. But then you have those who don't care and they'll intentionally just turn it up. You know what I mean? But the Bible says it's not what goes into a man that defiles him; it's what comes out. So those who are disrespectful, they're not disrespecting me; they're disrespecting themselves because if you don't know me, it can't be personal. So what people like that, what they're doing is they're just displaying their inner selves. But yeah, we get some who will be mindful of the way they conduct themselves. But I'll say this too, though, Lavish. I think to some extent that has to be earned. I don't expect folk to put their cigarette out when I show up. I don't expect them to stop cussing when I show up. I don't expect them to hide their drink when I show up. You know what I mean? Because quite frankly, some of them, I haven't earned that respect. They don't know me like that. They don't even know if I'm real about what I'm talking about. Because chances are they done had a bad experience with some other preacher at some point or another. And I get it because I have too. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So as they say, it's not given, it's earned.
And I ask these things because in this thing we call the bike world, there's so many
Mhm.
different type of people, man, out here. You know,
Oh yeah.
Christians, Baptists, all types of religion, and I will be surprised how many bikers we have out here who are pastors. Some of them they don't speak on it. Some of them they don't have churches or anything like that. But let it be a funeral, and they will speak, or it might be a pastor in a club. No one knows that he's a pastor besides the club, and you see his name in the obituary, and you'd be surprised. And some of these guys don't carry themselves like pastors. Nothing, no offense to them, but you just don't know. They blend in very well, and they say some real prolific stuff, man, and catch a lot of us bikers off guard. And one of the problems be because communication. We might never had a conversation with that guy because we see a lot
Hmm.
of different people in passings, and we don't talk to everybody.
Right.
It's not I don't talk to him because of this. It's just that we just don't talk to everyone. And you learn these things about people, especially knowing that they're a pastor. Can a person like me or anybody else, can we invite you out to a motorcycle club and you show up? Do you want to be treated like everyone else? And I get and I'm trying to word it right when I say that,
Mhm.
because and I take blame for a lot of stuff, because I had some chaplains. We have chaplains that ride motorcycles. They work for the police department, and
Yeah.
they have came and they have told me, Lavish, man, you don't ever invite me out, man. Let me know when the next time you're doing something. And I don't mean to offend them by not doing so, but I be, and I hate to think for them, but I know that it's gonna be cussing here. I know that it's gonna be smoking here. I know that it's gonna be drinking there. And these guys, they'll still come. They might come early. They might show up just to say, "Hey, Lavish, I'm here." And then you have some guys, you
Right.
know, they just like that environment. Um, what is retro like?
Well, let me say it like this, Lavish. Um, as it relates to the motorcycle community, I didn't show up on the doorstep of the motorcycle community saying, "Hey, I'm Pastor So and So." I started the Retro Philosophy Show, and reasons for starting the Retro Philosophy Show was because I wanted to get some answers. I wanted to hear the input of different individuals, because sometimes you have one individual who wants to be the mouthpiece for a whole group, and yeah, that don't really, so I started the Retro Philosophy Show. I started trying to do some interviews and things of that nature. So I tried to show up as a content creator. You know what I'm saying? Now, with that said and done, by no means was I hiding who I was as it relates to my call to ministry, because a light can't be hid. It's supposed to be placed on a candlestick and give light to the whole room. So I didn't come to the motorcycle set or the motorcycle community asking for any privilege or anything like that. I like to believe that whatever respect that I have gotten from the motorcycle community and beyond, I earned it. Nobody gave me anything. I wasn't raised that way, and I don't subscribe to that kind of liberty, if you will. But as far as there are some who do. Call me Pastor Retro.
Right.
But it's because I told them to call me Pastor Retro. It's because they see and respect that calling on my life.
Okay.
But again,
Okay.
that wasn't given. It was earned. I like to say, and if anybody believes otherwise, I'm sure they would. But I like to say that I've been pretty consistent with who I am from day one. As a matter of fact, I had a president of a motorcycle group, a local one here, looked me in my orbital sockets one day and said, "Retro, whatever you do, don't change."
Right.
And I heard them loud and clear. And not only did I hear them, I understood exactly where they were coming from. I think as a Christian on the set, we owe the set, and if nothing else, consistency. I can't be at your annual, drinking like a fish, and then turn around and expect you to respect me when it comes time to pray for you. And again, different people may see it differently. I'm speaking for Retro. I'm
Right.
speaking for Kingdom Alignment. We've got to put a difference. And I'm not, it is the Bible says, put a difference between clean and unclean. Now, if I'm invited to your motorcycle clubhouse, and I have been, will I come? Yes. Will I be there for your night shenanigans when Cinnamon getting ready to drop it like it's hot and everything? Nah, I'm gonna make sure I exit before she get on stage. You know what I mean? Because they're gonna say Retro was up in there making it rain, and that could be so far from the truth. you
But
know
because you were there at
um
that time, right?
yeah, you know what I mean.
They'll put you there. Okay. No, because a lot of times, and things have shifted. I'm gonna
Hmm.
say things have shifted with religion, from me being a child. to now. And with
Hmm.
social media, I think that helps bring a different perspective to a lot of the a lot of the men of the cloth, a lot of the pastors, a lot of the reverends, the bishops, because now we get to see a little bit more of who they really are. Besides a stereotype of the pastor, he drives a Cadillac and all he does is take people money, and he does this. Now with social media, I think, and this is just me, I think that people are seeing a little bit more of a human side when it comes down to religion and the pastors. You got pastors that's on social media. They'll spread the word, they'll teach the word, but sometimes you have to meet a person where they're at to give them the word where they're
I
at,
agree.
you know.
I
and i
agree.
and i see that. So it helps me look at certain pastors a little different, because I've seen some that says, Lavish, I'm just like you, man. I got challenges every day. All I can
Oh
do is
yeah.
just be a
Oh yeah.
better person, because we hold pastors to such a high standard, as if they're not human anymore. And sometimes I talk to them as if, they're not human. Like, you're supposed to be this perfect, this perfect person. And that's not always the
Hmm.
case. And you can see that, with different pastors. Um, I've seen pastors, they say, I have a few drinks. I smoke cigars. I'm normal. I'm a
Hmm.
human, but you have been shown as a child growing up, the pastor, they can't do anything. They can't do any wrong. They're not supposed to look at women. They're not supposed to smoke. They're not supposed to drink. And when I say smoke, I'm not talking illegal drugs or anything. I'm just saying cigarettes or cigars. They hold them to these standards and everything like that, where they're almost not human. So seeing them now, laugh, joke, dance, and stuff, I think that helps out a little bit as far as getting people more connected into the word, into church. I could be mistaken. You can
Well,
you're
I
you're
think
more
that a
into it
lot
than
of
me.
I think a lot of people are mistaking that in order to reach people, you have to be like them, and that's so far from the truth, right? So I've got this saying that I've adopted. I can't even remember who I stole it from, but people don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Okay.
Okay, so it is not my ability to blend in with you that's going to reach you. It's the fact that you feel the love of God. You see what I'm saying?
All right.
So I think that we have to be careful that we not go too far to one extreme just for the sake of saying I fit in. Because the I fit in might actually turn into you losing your testimony or you losing your influence. You see what I'm saying? And so I like to lead with love. He said, by this shall all men know that you are my disciples because you have love one to another. I quote scripture, but I don't lead with that, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
They say what's in you is going to come out. So that's really the reason why I quote scripture the way I do, because it's in me. But I don't use that to try to impress anybody, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
All right. No, I
You
got you
know?
on that. Just some things, that I'll ask since I got you on here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lottie Dottie.
Hmm.
I've heard you say that before. I asked you. Now I did ask him this before, because it was just eating me up, just because I'm like, who is that? Who is Lottie
Yeah.
Dottie? So, if you ever, and let me say this, he has, and he said it already, he has a YouTube channel, and he has a show, the Retro Philosophy Show. And on the show, he talks about Lottie Dottie, and he speaks on
All the time.
Lottie Dottie, even in the intro.
Hmm.
For the people that are watching who never heard of retro, never seen the Retro Philosophy Show, um, I want you to go into the show, but I want you to tell me who Lottie Dottie is. I want you to let people know who Lottie Dottie is, because it's pretty cool once I found
Yeah.
out, what it
Yeah.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
share that too.
I am Lottie Dottie. Lottie Dottie is a fictitious individual, but ever so real. She represents the underprivileged, the overlooked, the mistreated, That's who she represents. She represents those who've been bullied, those who haven't been given a chance, those who have been told they'd never make it, those who have been told that they don't have the right motorcycle, those that were told they were a one-hit wonder, those that were told, all those foolish things that people tell you. That's who Lottie Dottie is. And I rock with Lottie Dottie. Yeah. So one thing I will always, two things I will always do. I will always acknowledge God, especially when I get ready to do my show. I always say, "This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it." And I shout out my homegirl Lottie Dottie.
Lottie Dottie, man. That's
Yeah.
what I'm talking
So
about, man. No, what was you
see,
about to say?
I'm trying not to get on my soapbox. I'm trying not to get on my soapbox. But some people, they get their flashy CVO and they pretty sneakers and they forget where they came from. Some people, they get to a certain status and they forget the ones that helped them get there.
Man, go ahead and preach,
you
man.
know and some people, they will step on anybody for a chance to get up, to come up or whatever. Yo, bro, you got to be so careful those who you step on to get to the top.
Right?
You got to be careful, because truth of the matter is that ain't how it works. If I got to step on you to get there, nah, bro, nah, there's got to be another way. There's got to be another way. Now, if you're gonna offer me a boost and you bend over so I can step on your back to get to that next level, guess what I'm gonna do? When I get there, I'm gonna reach back and I'm gonna pull you up. But so many people, they get them, come on, man, they get to that certain place and they
And they
forget
forget
about
where
those
they
who helped
came
them
from.
get there. Yeah. And now they wanna flex on somebody. Bruh. Nah. Mm-mm.
No, man, in
Nah.
all fairness, we see it happen. We see it happen every day. So I
Every
get
day.
it. Every day we see it happen. People forget, where they come from. They become holy. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to say holier than thou. That would probably be the wrong
Mm-hmm.
one. They become better than the next person, where they look down and yeah, I can't even talk to him. He's not
Right.
even on my level, man. So I get that, man. I thought that was pretty cool. When you broke it down to me, you told me about Lottie Dottie. That's really cool, to have, that type of thing for the people out there, and it means something to you.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Share with them, because I know that you told me the purpose of you doing your podcast, but you have two shows, correct?
Um,
Or is it just one? Is it a show and then you go live with the ministry, or is it two different podcasts?
So I've got one podcast, which is the Retro Philosophy Show. My wife and I also have another platform that we do. It's called What's Love. And so that is a platform where we usually just deal with things pertaining to relationships, love. It's not just for couples. It's open for anybody. It's a Facebook group we have, and a YouTube. The Facebook is What's Love, and the YouTube channel is Sheldon and Shelley. I believe it's Sheldon and Shelley.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've been doing that for a while. Not as consistent. The Retro Philosophy Show kind of took up more of my time, and but we still keep the page alive. What's love?
Okay.
And then as
Now,
far as the church is concerned,
no, as far as the church is
we
concerned,
yeah, we go live on Sundays at 11 a.m. as well as normally on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. We've been diving into the Book of Revelation. So for the past couple weeks, we've been doing something a little different. So we haven't been opening it up to the public, and good chances it's the whole month of. February, we probably won't be broadcasting live on Wednesday either, because we're doing a special consecration for the whole month.
okay. Now you
Yeah.
mentioned relationships, and this is probably, I'm
Hmm.
just thinking about it. I'm gonna ask you. I know that you're a
Yeah.
pastor and everything. I know things done changed in the world. I'm not saying
Hmm.
that it's right. I'm not saying that it's wrong, because I pass no judgment. I
Yeah.
pass no judgment, man. To each his own.
Hmm.
But by you being and I'm just on a religious side.
Okay.
As no, let me rephrase that. You being a religious man,
Hmm.
and we're talking about current stance on relationships. You had these polyamorous relationships going on nowadays, right? And I'm
Hmm.
not saying that is right. I'm not saying that is wrong. This is my personal opinion. What works best for them works best for them. And we're
Hmm.
seeing that cheating is not even considered cheating anymore because people, male and female, are letting it be known. Well, I got someone over here. Hey, I
Yeah.
got someone over here. We got a don't ask, don't tell policy, all those things, however it goes, he gets away with this and he got a woman over there, blah, blah, blah. In today's world of dating,
Hmm.
can and I guess it's subjective. Um, can a male or female come to church but live that type of lifestyle and be accepted into the church, or would they be frowned upon?
They do it every day. They do it every day. See, the church is supposed to be a hospital, and not a place where you condemn folk. That I say in the church quite often, and I hope no one takes offense. But sinful people do sinful things. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I saw a video the other day about a lady who bought a iPad at a gas station for $200, brand new iPad, $200 at the gas station, only to open up and realize that she had a piece of glass that had been duct taped and it was fake.
I seen that. I
You,
seen that.
yeah. So what else did she expect to happen? A brand new iPad for $200. I mean, she should have known she was getting took. So anyway, you expect. I don't expect anybody to live a perfect life who don't have God in their life. And when I say God in their life, I'm not talking about having a knowledge of God. I'm talking about having a born again relationship with God. You see what I'm saying? And then you still got to work hard because I tell people all the time, Lavish, I got saved, not amnesia. You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So that's when that daily walk comes in place, where you have to make sure that you stay focused, that you walk in a level of discipline, that you don't trick yourself into thinking that you're stronger in areas where you know you ain't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I guess to get back to your question though, for someone to come to Upper Praise Ministries, which is a church where I pastor, and they're shacking or whatever, you know what we're gonna do?
What's
We're gonna
that?
love on them.
Okay.
We're gonna love on them. I believe that a smart Christian would love the hell out of people. You love them right, they'll get right.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
see what I'm saying?
I
So,
just just ask the question because you
hmm
brung up, you and your wife doing, relationship talks and things like that. And I know that a lot
yeah,
of relationships are not as traditional as they once were, but the
I agree.
non-traditional relationships are becoming more acceptable.
Hmm.
And I just wanted to know from your personal stance, because you got all types of different pastors out here, man. And
Yeah.
you got some of the ones, they're completely old school. You got pastors out here, man, that's very relatable. You got pastors that's in the midst of both. They understand this, but they got to stand on what their beliefs is, but they don't judge. So I come across different pastors with different views on things, and they're open. Now on the flip side, you got the hidden pastors that you find out stuff down the road when you find out that the pastor is sleeping with the deacon's wife type of thing. So
Hmm.
I accept listening to those pastors that are very open, more realistic, reality
Hmm.
pastors, so to say. But I just wanted to, know your stance on that as far as the relationship thing, because it came up. Now, I want to skip past
I'll say
now,
this, Lavish, if I can. Um, Keeping it real doesn't mean it's right.
right? That's true.
I keep it real with you all day long and be like, yo, Lavish, I'm just a man, I still slip up and everything. And I'm keeping it real, but it still ain't right. You see what I'm saying? So I think that even if a man of God is being real and he has, some shortcomings or whatever, I think he has to be careful who he divulges that to and with, because it could do more of an injustice than anything else. I tell the
Yeah.
saints all the time, man. You got to be careful who you telling your business to, because they will
But
prey
definitely
on
that.
you.
They definitely will, man.
They will prey on you instead of pray for you.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I don't disagree with you on that, man. I was just, I just wanted to, ask that. I don't, I don't have any other, you know, thoughts to ask because I don't want to turn it into a religious, show where we're just,
Understand?
talking about religion, which I don't have a problem doing at all. But I know we're talking about motorcycles and religion as well because that's what
Hmm.
that's what you do. So I definitely want to talk about you and your
Hmm.
dad. I don't want to because I got a lot of different questions and I ask these questions. It's not just because I got retro here. It just helps me get a better understanding from different people's perspective. I get a different insight from one person to another when I do have conversations about things regarding religion and
So
their
let me go back.
beliefs.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So you had kind of alluded to this question, so and I don't think I answered it directly. How did I get into motorcycle ministry? We had been, I don't know, pastoring, I don't know, maybe 10 years or so. Well, maybe a little bit longer than that, 10, 12 years, somewhere around there. It's so easy to become frustrated with church, the politics and the same old, the religion, the routine. And I'm just not that guy for routine. And I had just gotten to a place where I was about burnt out with just the church politics and everything. And so there was this young lady who had started coming to our church. Stanya Morgan. Hopefully she's watching tonight. Usually she'll still tune into the show. And so she had started coming to the church, and she tells me one Sunday, she said, "Pastor, I won't be here next Sunday. We're doing a benefit for my son. Her son had been murdered down in Charlotte some years back." And I says, "Oh, okay. Well, give me the information. We'll come in and support. And so she gave me the information. I don't think she thought that I would come because they were doing a benefit ride. I didn't know at the time, but she was a part of a social club down in Charlotte. And so the following Sunday, that coming Sunday, I rode the bike to church, me and the wife. I gave him a sermonette, and me and the wife, we broke out, get down into Charlotte in time to support her. And so when I got there, there was this dude that was getting ready to lead the prayer before they went off on the ride. And so she introduced me to him as her pastor, and he introduced himself as a pastor, and he shared with me the motorcycle ministry that he was a part of. And I was like, oh, okay. So we talking about God and motorcycles, two things that I like.
yeah,
Hmm. Because up until that point, I had never heard of a motorcycle ministry, you
okay,
know. And so he flipped me his car, say, hit me up, and he went about his way, and we went and we did the ride and had a great time and everything. Me and the wife, and so I ended up reaching out to him later on, and one thing led to another, and we ended up becoming a part of their group. And so that's how I got introduced to motorcycle ministry. Unfortunately, that group ended up dissolving later on, and but we were so adamant and so passionate about what we were doing, we wasn't going to stop. So that's when Kingdom Alignment Motorcycle Ministry was birthed, and we've been doing it ever since. So that was how I got into motorcycle ministry, and it's been a great opportunity and a great experience.
have you ever had any problems out here riding your motorcycle going from place to place, man, or are you accepted when they see you
I
because of who
haven't
you
had
are?
any problems. I haven't had any problem on ground. Now, my experience among the motorcycle community is if you're gonna have problems with somebody, it's some joker that ain't riding their bike. I'm gonna just keep it a buck with you. Cause if you out there and you out there you pounding, they gonna see you. They gonna look at your cut. They gonna say, okay, 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 and you're gonna have a few conversations. Might talk about a couple of highways, couple experiences, and it's
Yeah.
all good. From 1%ers to 99ers to white bikers, and the list goes on and on. I never had a problem with a guy who's actually riding this motorcycle. It's always that fat, no good, low down joker that ain't rode in I don't know how long that want to have a problem. and those
Oh,
might be the ones that you get a little spook from.
oh man, that's what I'm talking about, man. What gets you fired up? What gets you fired up to get on that motorcycle, man?
When I get on that motorcycle, I'm that big because I realize that it's only God's grace and mercy. You know, I've been down a few times, and so I know that when I throw that leg over that bike, um, God's in control.
Man,
When I'm on my bike, it depends. Sometimes, I'm on it and I'm just reflecting. Sometimes, there's been those rides where, my hood, excuse me, my helmet is wet because I'm crying. It's just one of those kind of rides. It just all depends.
oh man,
But one
you
thing,
got me fired up for a second because I'm ready to ride now.
hey, look here, man. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing, that motorcycle, that experience. I don't know if it's the feeling of freedom. I don't know if it's the feeling of power. Maybe a little bit of all of the above.
Definitely that.
Um,
Definitely that.
but I'll say this: I get enjoyment when I ride my motorcycle, but riding my motorcycle is not my joy. Joy, though, my strength. And I think there are some people who get that mixed up, you know so I get enjoyment out of riding it, but it is not my source of joy. That makes
Interesting.
sense.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's a different logic, and I mean,
yeah.
you hear different things from different people, so that's definitely different. Now on your
Yeah,
bike, you have a trailer, man. What are you pulling? You keep an animal with you?
it all depends.
Oh,
Okay,
you're
so
carrying luggage. You're carrying baggage.
yeah, it all depends. I got about
Okay.
4 different trailers.
What?
One of them is an actual camper. It's called a what do they call that thing, a bunkhouse. It opens up to a queen size bed with a little
On a
changing area.
motorcycle?
Hmm. If I
A
was on my computer,
motorcycle.
I'd pull it up.
What?
Yeah.
I got
So
a queen size bed.
queen size bed.
Man, that's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, it folds out. We pulled that a few times. We took it up to Memphis. We took it up to Arkansas. Uh, we pulled it a few times. And it sleeps real comfortable. The wife enjoys it. If I'm by myself, I've got the little teardrop. That's the one that I pull most of the time. We when we went across country a few years ago, we loaded it down with all of our gear. We left out the day after Christmas, going from I-10 end to end. So we had our tent in there. We had all our heated gear. We had all our luggage, and that thing was stuffed to the brim, man. And it
Man,
pulls good.
here you go,
But I
man.
can also sleep in it. I can also
Oh,
fit in that one too if I'm by myself.
that's I wouldn't have known, man. That's hey, I thought you
Hmm.
probably had like an animal or a pet with you. I didn't know that it was that big or it expanded like that, man. I didn't. I
Yeah.
had no clue, man. That's like some new stuff to me. But I don't
Yeah.
know everything either. But I do know that you just mentioned doing I-10 to the end. We got a lot of stuff to talk about as far as that ride. And I actually want to do a podcast with a couple of these ground pounders that done
Hmm.
rode, you know, the different highways all over, man, just to have a conversation amongst them all, just to hear y'all stories, the stories collectively about riding through this state or riding through this weather. I think that'd be pretty dope to do, man. But on the
Yeah.
motorcycle side, I did not know that trailer was that big. Your wife chimed in and said, "Yes, queen size bed, sleeps real good." I would never have
Yeah.
thought that.
Yeah.
Now, is she with you on most of these rides?
Most of the time, yeah, we ride together. Yeah, most of the time, she's there with me, man. And I had to ask her. I said, "Babe, do you enjoy this, or you just doing it because I enjoy it? Because I need to know. I need to make sure." And she's like, "Nah, she really enjoy it, man." There are some rides that she really encourages me to do. Even, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so she the truth, man. She ain't no joke.
Oh man, that's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, man. That's what's up, man. Listen, I'm gonna go ahead because I don't want to keep up on here too long. It's been an hour and almost 5 minutes, man. We definitely gonna have to piggyback and come back, man, to uh talk more about retro, man. Get more into this ride. But I just wanted to. This is more like my introduction and retro's introduction to my viewers, to the people that's watching, so that I can kind of get a background of who retro is. And then when we podcast down the road, people can go back and look at it as a
Hmm.
diary to see some of the things that we discussed and we talked about. Now, here's a funny thing that I want to say, and I don't even know if you picked up on this the other day when I talked to you. We're on the phone and I'm being, just who I am. And I was dropping the F bomb, man. And then I said, oh yeah. I end up saying something. I don't even know if you paid attention to that. I don't even know because I quickly tried to, talk over that. I don't even know if you picked up on it. But for me, when I'm around certain people, I
Hmm.
will try to respect, just out of respect. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna, knowingly go in there knowing like, 'cause I didn't grow up like that. Even my grandfather cursed, but he didn't cuss around the pastor. Now, some of the funniest things used to be well, like, cause he was a trustee, but some of the funniest things used to be when they get together and they used to cuss. Oh man, I used to laugh. That used to be hilarious. They didn't say
Yeah.
any harsh stuff. They wouldn't say any other
Yeah.
harsh words, but still being a kid, you like, holy moly. But I just laughed about that because I know that when I had talked to you, actually, I don't know if it was before I sent over the flyer. Yeah, it was before then because
It was
I,
before
I
you.
that was through text, and I was like, oh man, I'm sitting over here. He's probably like, man, this guy's a bad guy. He over here just swearing.
Nah, I don't take offense to stuff like that, man. Like I said earlier, it's not what goes into a man that defiles him, it's what goes out. And and so yeah, I don't take offense to that at all.
Oh man, okay, now man, that's what I'm talking about with retro, man. I appreciate your time. Listen,
Yeah.
retro is actually at church right now,
Hmm.
late night,
Yeah.
finishing a Bible study. Is that right? A Bible study?
Yeah, we finished right around 8 o'clock, and so I'm definitely about to head on up to the crib. And I've got the bike. I rode tonight with the trailer because I had some equipment and everything
Oh
that I had to
man,
get
this
down here.
guy.
So
What's the
yeah,
weather like
but let me
down
say
there?
this, man. Today it was like 71 degrees, man.
71. Listen, you know
It
how
was it
great it
was
was?
71 degrees today.
We
Yeah,
got a
man,
whopping,
nice.
listen, man. We got a whopping high. Our whopping high was 40 degrees.
Yeah, yeah. I got some rides planned up your way, man. So I'm
Okay.
gonna definitely keep you in the loop. Let me do this before we end real quick, man. If you guys are watching and you want to get out and you want to do some nice riding, man, holla at your boy. It's called Mission 448. We've got a page on Facebook, Mission 448. Just go ahead and join the group. You can see what others are doing. We have registration available for all of the lower 48 states. And the thing about riding the four corners of your state, it tends to take you to areas that normally you wouldn't ride even within your own state. You'd be surprised the amount of people who actually get out and really ground pound but haven't explored their own state in its fullness, if you will. So if you guys are looking for a nice warm up ride, had a group hit me up the other day. They're looking to do the four corners of their state as they prepare for a cross country trip. So, and that's the thing about the four corners of your local state. Depending on what state it is, you're looking at maybe 1,200 miles, depending on which state it is. So it could be a real good warm up for your big cross country trip that you might be planning. And then outside of that, man, it's just really enjoyable to get out and ride the four corners of your state through some small areas and the scenery and everything. So if you are interested in doing that, man, like I said, look us up right here on Facebook. You can also get the link on my YouTube page, The Retro Philosophy Show, or you can just go to the Mission 448 group here on Facebook, Mission 448. And shout out to all those who are watching. We got some people that's watching tonight that have already knocked out the four corners of their state. Shout out to them. And we got a nice little matter of fact, we have quite a few people that have participated, as I was saying. This is the patch that you receive. We do have some that are state specific. And the thing about it, Lavish, to date, with the exception of maybe one or two, everyone that has completed the four corners of their state, these patches have been hand delivered to them by yours truly.
Oh wow, no stuff. Okay,
Yeah, and
okay.
that gets kind of costly
Yes,
because
it
it
does.
costs money to get across these state
It do.
lines.
It do. Time and
But
definitely money.
yeah, yeah. But those are the patches that you will receive. Hit me up if you want to do the four corners of your state, and we'll send you over the link so you can knock it out.
Retro, one more thing, and I'm just thinking, man, because I definitely said
Yeah.
I wanted to say this, and this goes back to the first time that I actually seen you, paid attention to you on social media and everything like that, man.
Hmm.
And I can't go without mentioning it. I only
Yeah.
know you're the second person. You're the second person. It's a
Hmm.
guy here, a photographer here in Detroit that I know. You're the second guy that has that mustache. you're you're the second guy. The third person that I seen was a guy, I forgot his name, but he used to come on my classic car, my classic garage, my classic car,
Yeah.
my
Yeah. Yeah.
classic car garage. It
Yeah.
was
I know who you're
that
talking
guy.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, was that on purpose or by accident? You know, for you to
Uh,
start rocking the mustache like that.
excuse me. Had a sneeze. All right, so quick story. I was at a gun show, and there was this gentleman there who had no beard, just a mustache, and his mustache had covered his whole mouth, and it just looked so. I was like, "Yo!" It was something about it, and so I said, "I wonder how much my mustache would grow," so I started trying to let it grow out, and as it started to protrude past my lip, it was so annoying. And then when I was eating, it was kind of, I was, so I started moving it out the way when I got ready to eat, and then one thing kind of led to another. So yeah, so I just started twisting it up, and that's how it started for me.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious about that because, like I say, man, the other
Yeah.
guy, and we had a conversation about that too. When I met him a few years ago about the mustache. Those are, you and him are the only two people that I actually know. And I said I'll ask, man, about that because I said, man, you got that
Yeah.
mustache, man. Is that real? Is he really doing that on the mustache? And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
he's really doing that on the mustache. Okay, man. Shout out to K Solo. He's on here, man. He said congratulations on the mission 448. So shout out to him. He has a podcast as well, man. He actually has a great production. I like, checking his podcast out. He really takes some time to do
Thanks,
his
Solo.
show, man. He really
Yeah.
does, and everything like that. And everybody else that's watching, you got Bolo, Vera said, you got my boy Chris, man. We go back to
Okay.
middle school. They out there, Shizzo, on there, a couple other people that's commenting or been in the comments. Um, yeah, so I can't go back
Yeah,
through
I can't
all of
see him.
them.
I can see a few on Facebook.
Yeah, I only can see a
Yeah.
few, man. But shout out to everybody that did, check out or drop the comment. If you can, go ahead and like this video. Follow me on all of my social media platforms. I got the same handle, Lavish T Williams, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, X, and whatever else it might be. If I'm on there, my handle will be Lavish T Williams. And I'm gonna go ahead and end this show, man. Again, Retro, man, I appreciate your time. Taking the time out while you're still there at the church, man, to hop up on this podcast. It's been a long time. I know I've been talking about it. You've been telling me, hey, man, whenever you're ready, let me know. Let me know. But you always trying to get stuff to be perfect, and it never be perfect. Sometimes you just
Nah.
you just gotta do it, man. You gotta
Yeah.
do it. So That's what I did, man, and I want to keep on doing it. And much success on your podcast and your show. And I hope that your viewers and the show is continuously growing. That's our goal. To spread whatever we're preaching the word out to
Right.
everybody. Based on our content. So I just wanted to end the show on that, man, and say, man, I appreciate your time.
Likewise, man. Keep
All
on doing
right.
what you're doing, boss man. We see you.
Yes, sir, man. Y'all have a good one.
All right.
Yep.